This one comes from Nicholas Motto, making a second appearance. It says, "What is your current view of Romans 7?" And I think that should say, "Why do you keep changing your mind on
Yeah,
Romans 7?"
Nicholas. Yeah, that's the question of my whole life. Why do I keep changing my mind? What's wrong with me? I'm unstable or something. I always say to the students, I have a Romans 7 experience with Romans 7, right? Um, yeah, why do I keep changing my mind? Well, I think because the passage is hard, you know? And I think, we go back in history. I mean, Augustine, Augustine, the great Augustine, the early church theologian, he changed his mind on Romans 7. He wrote retractions. So I think it's a really difficult passage. I think there's some really good arguments for being pre-Christian and very good arguments for it being Christian. So really, though, what I've argued in the last 20 some years, Nicholas, I mean, I've changed my mind a couple times in between there, yes. But what I've actually written has basically stayed the same. In between my Romans commentaries, edition 1 and edition 2, I kind of wandered around a little bit. But my basic view is that Romans 7, in one sense, it's true of believers. Believers are completely enslaved to sin. But in another sense, it's true of it's true of unbelievers, but it's also true of believers in that we are still in the flesh to some extent, right? There's an already not yet. So believers also, the inherent capacity in ourselves, we have the Holy Spirit, but I think Paul doesn't mention the Holy Spirit in the last part of Romans 7. And I think he's thinking of, in and of ourselves, what capacity do we have to do God's will? And I think the answer is we don't have any capacity. We can't do it. So that to some extent, we experience what's in Romans 7 as well. One reason I think this is important is I think it keeps us humble. We struggle, I would argue, we struggle with sin until the day we die. Now, I want to immediately say, Romans 7 isn't all there is to say about the Christian life, right? I am not arguing that basically our lives are a failure. I think Paul's fundamentally optimistic. We are new people, so I think there's a complexity there that I think is helpful. Yes, we're new, and yet we struggle still. We struggle with sins of the mind and the heart. And isn't it interesting, Nicholas, that Paul talks about coveting there? He's not struggling with committing adultery. He's not struggling with murdering. He's not struggling with stealing. He's struggling with wrong desires in his heart. So I think that is another indication that, yeah, Christians still experience those wrong desires that bubble up within us, and we have to put to death. What does Paul say in Romans 8? We have to put to death those desires of the flesh.